Hey guys, going to do a quick shave today with the slurry lather method. We're going to use the Klar soap again. It have had a little trouble last time, mainly not because of the soap, but because of the actual container and how it's a relatively small container compared to the kind of the tubs that we have now. Like here is the typical. This is from Chiseled Face, and then here's the Klar in comparison. And this is a hard soap, and so you may actually get more uses out of this. This is a crope that's softer, right? So size doesn't mean that you're going to get more uses out of the big container, but the soap makers who are using these types of containers almost always leave a little bit of space in the top of the container for you to load your brush. And the slurry lather method definitely works better if you have that. With the Klar, you could put this in the bottom of a mug, and then you'd have plenty of kind of room for the water not to run away. You could shred it and put it in any container you wanted. With the boar brush I used last time, it just kind of let the water leave, and so I had to add back in. Now, it wasn't a problem, but it's good to note that with this method. And so today we're going to try the same thing, but instead of a boar brush, we're going to use this high density badger brush. This is an Oumo Manchuria something. The details will be down in the video. I think they call it a high mountain white Manchurian. I think they do. Astra Platinum with just a few uses on it. And like you probably saw, Fatip open comb. This is the Grande handle. It's hollow, kind of like the common bar handle for the Tech versus the ball end handle for the Tech. Matter of fact, I have a Tech down here. Here's that common bar handle. They're both hollow. Now this one doesn't have an opening at the bottom, but it's a lighter handle, and so your balance point is closer to the head with this particular Tech. The piccolo handle for the Fatip and the ball end handle for the Techs is a solid handle, brass, solid, and so the balance is a little bit farther away from the head. But the heads are all the same. And so let's go ahead and put that Astra. The Platinums is a wonderful blade for me because they're so cheap, but they really perform well across pretty much all of the razors that I enjoy using. With the Fatips, it's kind of like the Parkers and the Merkur DE89 types that aren't precision ground, and so or precision milled. And so what I usually do to help me often not have to do too many adjustments on the blade is to just drop it on there, hold it down tight, and screw it down until I start feeling it touch, and then take a look at it. And sometimes you'll have to adjust it a little bit, but sometimes you'll even see how it's a little off. But sometimes that doesn't make a difference. Sometimes it's kind of cool. Sometimes if it's extending a little bit too much on one side and retracted just a hair on the other side, then that's kind of cool because you can use that one side as almost like a different gap razor. That'll have a little bit more exposure, a little bit more aggression, tiny bit, tiny bit. And then for your polishing off strokes, especially on your ladder passes, you know, the other side that is recessed just a touch, then you can use that. So it's all, it can be a good thing, and these are a whole lot cheaper than the Fatips. There are a lot cheaper than the Wolfman, Timeless, Charcoal Goods, you know, those sort of razors, Henson, that sort of thing. And the what I love about these Fatips is that the top cap here comes down and it actually touches the comb. In a lot of other open comb razors, here's a Timeless for instance, you know, the blade is sitting there in the air and it's not touching the comb. And so you've got more of a gap situation there that will make that a lot more aggressive under the same circumstances, where this guy's an open comb, and I don't think of him as an aggressive razor at all. Some people do, and that's up to them. But for me, I don't shave with it any differently than a mild razor. I don't exercise any more care with it because it's so smooth, because it's gripping that blade right at the edge. All right, let's get on with it. Get my face wet. Haven't shaved in a couple of days. I got to try the Voices from Mammoth, from House of Mammoth. And I got this little EDP sampler and EDT, whichever strength it is. And it's interesting. Some kind of like a ruby red grapefruit or ruby, you know, Mickey Lee years ago used to have like a ruby red or something like that. That was people who liked that. I think that's a similar scent as this guy. And I haven't decided whether I like it or not. I didn't mind smelling it on myself all day, but it's one of those, well, would I choose this over others, you know? So we'll see how that pans out. I'm really glad to have that sample. So yeah, when I was giving you guys this demo last time, I dropped the soap because there's so much room to overflow that the sides got slippery, and I gave the aluminum tin this horrible dent right there. So now it's never going to sit flat unless I do some doctoring. So yeah, I haven't used this soap very much. I bought it used, but it hadn't been used very much, but in the previous owner either. And so what we're going to try to do today is we're going to see if the difference in brushes, not the boar, but now the badger, if that badger somehow retains a little bit of the water better than that boar. And the boar I used was the Smoke Owners Club. And man, this thing holds a lot of water, but as you can see there, it's just not as dense of a brush. And so it was very easy when the brush tips moved over the edge of the tub, they would kind of flick a little bit, and it was just too easy to lose the water. So the brush has been soaking for a while, so that's no problem. Let's load. I think I loaded for about 50 swirls last time. I think I timed it one time, and so each time I do 3 swirls, that's about a second worth of loading. And so that's the conversion that I do, because on my software, my shaving tracker thing that I wrote, it doesn't let me count swirls. It lets me, it wants me to put duration of time. All right, so here we go. As you can see, it has a ton of water in it. And then let's go and see what happens here. 1, 2, 3, 4. Last time I loaded like 60 or whatever I did, 50 maybe, and it was more soap than I needed. And you know what happened just now? You may not have seen too much leak out, but what it was doing was it was going down into the gap. I'm going to take some of this side stuff and get my face kind of jump started. This is the Klassic scent, and that's what it is. It's kind of just generic, nice smelling. I've got the Sport and I think the Sandalwood as well. Haven't shaved in a couple days. I do have a slightly oily face. Okay, so let's see what we have here. When we start here, light swirls, not pressing too hard. Yeah, we got that slurry starting. That's good. And it doesn't have a ton of water in the brush. So yeah, the brush did lose more water with this type of tub configuration. And there we go. Don't really need to do too much more than that with this method, because this is very slick on my face. Doesn't need to be mature. That's the whole thing about the slurry lather method that I've been working on now for a while. Oh yeah, easily cutting through multiple days of growth. Just very smooth. That solid edge grip there is really where the secret is with this razor. Sometimes you will get a Fatip razor from the vendor, whoever you bought it from, and it will have some quality problems. Sometimes these pins are not welded in at a good angle. There are enough reports for me to go ahead and give you a warning about that. But I own about, or have used about maybe 8 or 10 of these things, and only one of them came close to having an issue, and it doesn't actually have an issue, but it's a little different with the blade alignment than the rest of them. But so for me, I haven't experienced that quality control issue. But if you do buy your Fatip from a vendor where you can return it, if it just happens to have the welding angle be wrong, then there you go, problem solved. You can just have it returned. Yeah, that took the, oh yeah, see I can feel the slickness there. So yeah, we're in good shape here. A little splash of water on my face. And let's see. You know, did this brush pick up enough soap? It kind of looks like it did. The lather here, because I don't have as much water, see, so much is splashing out onto my shirt. I don't have as much water that's staying in the lather, and so this looks a little more mature than my slurry lathers do on pass number 2, typically. It's a very wet method, so you're going to get a messy shirt, but it's fast. You don't have to wait to create that mature lather. I can go fast because this razor is just so smooth. I do feel the edge, but it's in such perfect control. I mean, sure, you could cut yourself on it. You could, if I went against the grain, then I might give myself some irritation. And of course, always, if you go side to side, you're going to cut yourself, right? But I don't really have to worry about this guy at all. And there we go, second pass. Let's do a little bit of water. I don't use this soap very much. There are some people who really like it. It's been around for a while, long while. And so some people do remember their dads or grandfathers using it. And so for some it holds great memories. And it is a nice performing soap. I think it's vegan for people who value that. And now I'm going to press a little harder and see if we can put together whatever lather is left in the brush. See what it's going to give me. And you can see it's not plentiful. So maybe load more next time with this particular brush. But I mean, it's definitely serviceable and it's very slick. I mean, it's enough to get the job done. So some people might regard this as the perfect amount of lather. And there was some water in my bowl that had drained out of the soap container from my loading. And I've kind of been dipping into that a little bit to keep the brush hydrated. And so that's all pretty much gone now. Third pass. And it is just some pickups, and it does feel nice and luxurious here. Razor is moving easily. if you like to play around with sometimes what we call a Franken razor concept, where you're mixing razor parts. One friend recommended that I take either this base plate out, and you can put it on like a Gillette Old Type, which are super cheap on eBay. It's an older razor back in the early 1900s. Or you can take the Old Type head and put it in this, because see, they both use the same posts because they're used the same blades. And so you can switch those out. And I think maybe his point was to use this base plate in the Old Type rather than how this razor would work well if you brought the Old Type base plate and put it here. I think it's using this base plate in the Old Type that was what he really enjoyed using. So you can try that if you have both of those razors. But basically you can look through any of your collection. Here's another razor. This is the World's Finest razor, which is named a little bit too confidently, but it is a very nice razor. And see, again, that has the 3 posts. And so you might be able to swap out this base plate, you know, or put the Fatip base plate in this razor, maybe. But this is another one that has great grip. The reason it's so good is, like the Fatip, it has great rigidity and grip right up close to the blade edge. This one has it too, and so that also may make it not really work with the kind of curvature nature of this fine head. All right. Oh yeah, we're good. Happy camper today. So I'm doing some traveling later today, and let's figure out what balm we want to use. Is that what I want to do? But you know what? I really enjoyed that diamond the other day. I'm going to do that again. If you get to the end of your slurry lather shave, if you're doing a method that's similar to this, indeed, this may actually be a good rule across a lot of different shaving methods, and you're doing your final rinse, but you don't feel the soap, you don't feel it kind of come alive. If you, because that little bit of rinse water at first will rejuvenate the lather, the tiny soap particles that are on your face, and it'll just be super slick until it rinses away. And if you don't get that, if the water just kind of feels like you're putting water on your face and you don't feel the soapiness of it, you could try to load a little bit longer if you wanted to. If it takes a long time to rinse that soapiness away, maybe you have soft water, but you could also not load for as long. That might be an indication that you're loading too much, or you don't have to load as much. If that's the way you like it, if you like it thick and lots of soap, more soap than you really need, that's your privilege, that's your right as a shaver. But if you want to dial back on the loading, then you probably could if you are at the shave end and you're trying to rinse your face off and it takes a while, right? Okay, so let's do this balm. The face is still a little damp, so that's good. Oh man, I just instantly smell some of these neat notes, like I think popcorn or something like that, caramel. So the Badger brush in today's kind of experiment did about the same as the boar. It wasn't able to hold as much, maintain as much water during the loading process as I usually can do when I'm loading from a tub. But it was still reasonably quick. I did a whole bunch of talking to you guys, and we're at 20 minutes right now of recorded time. The only thing I tuned out, cut away for, was just a rinse, a couple of rinses, and they were very fast. So this is a, it's a fast method. And like I said, you could put this is a good shape for the bottom of a coffee mug or something like that. Maybe one of those apothecary style shaving mugs. And so the Astra did well. I'm going to put another tick mark on this paper. Did very well with the Fatip Open Comb Grande. Fatip is strange because they do not name their razors based on the head. They name it based on the handle. So if you have a piccolo, that's that thinner, solid handle. If you have the grande, it's the hollow handle. Most other razors, the head is really kind of what matters. So there we go. The Astra Superior Platinum is a terrific blade for me across many razors. And I just have to rinse out my brush, and I think we're good for today's shave. Thank you so much for tuning in. This is Sugar Daddy Shaves. Good night.